You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Sean Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space. Ivan, please go ahead and get us started.
I'm Zach. I'm really excited to have a colleague of mine and a guest, Dr. Kristin Welch. She is a board-certified emergency and critical care specialist with 2 decades of clinical experience in academia, corporate, and independent veterinary referral practices. She's a 2-time entrepreneur, founding DVM Stat Consulting in 2019 and co-founding a regional specialty and referral center. Under her leadership, DVM Stat has grown to 25 specialists across 8 specialties, pioneering specialty teleconsultation as a core part of veterinary practice. Passionate about education, Dr. Welch is a lecturer, wet lab instructor, and clinical mentor dedicated to helping veterinarians build confidence in managing complex cases. She recently launched a 12-hour free race-approved continuing education series, ensuring that high-quality clinical courses are available to all veterinary professionals. Kristin, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, teleconsulting, really interesting space, has tons of opportunity. I've been always passionate about it because it has no geographical boundaries, as some telemedicine. And tell us about that, because I think that's an important piece to kind of define the telemedicine versus teleconsulting for the listeners, and maybe we'll jump off that.
Absolutely. So teleconsultation is a doctor-to-doctor consultation service that allows the veterinary client-patient relationship to remain with the family practitioner or the primary practitioner at the clinic level. And therefore, it doesn't have the same state or regional limits that telemedicine does. In telemedicine, of course, you're communicating primarily with a pet parent. And so you do have to pre-establish a veterinary client-patient relationship in order to do that in most areas. Teleconsultation really breaks down those geographic barriers because we're able to provide specialty consults to other veterinary professionals internationally. And that veterinary professional can take that advice and apply it to the patient that they are seeing in their clinic.
So the one thing that I think that kind of competes with you, and I don't know if it's going to be a curveball or softball for you right out of the gate, but there's a lot of these big companies like IDEX and Zoetis and others that offer some of that stuff. Do you ever have veterinarians questioning why should we choose you and pay for this, and what are the advantages for the general practitioners to access specific services that you provide?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So with a group like DVM Stat, we truly provide a concierge level of teleconsultation service in that the veterinarian is able to communicate directly one-on-one with the board certified specialist who's managing their case with them. They're able to work with the same specialist for weeks or months or years to co-manage that patient. So uniquely, it allows that pet and that pet parent to have the benefit of true co-management of their pet's condition with a board certified specialist. In contrast, the larger groups, which of course are competition, it's a true statement, they provide a different level of service that is great for the veterinarians that are looking for a quick answer or an input on how their blood work results should impact their choice of treatment for that pet. We go a number of layers deeper in that we dig through 3 to 6 months of medical records for each one of our patients and truly leave no stone unturned to make sure that that pet has the specialty experience that they would have if they went into a specialist hospital directly.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. It's very interesting. How do you guys leverage technology to provide these services in a timely fashion?
It's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of changes that are happening, of course, in the veterinary technology space, and we're going to be working on adopting some of those as 2025 continues to unfold. Right now, we provide immediate telephone consultations 24 hours a day, 7 days a week around the clock to make sure that vets, when they have an urgent question or a critical patient in front of them, can actually get the answers that they want at a deep level right then and there. We also have a secure online EMR portal that allows each clinic to be able to submit their cases in a convenient way. If they have a patient, they have a busy clinic schedule, but they have a patient they really want to submit for an oncology consult or an internal medicine consult, for instance, they're able to upload their medical records, provide a clinical summary, and importantly, submit the questions that they have about that patient's case directly to the specialist, and then they can move on with their day and continue seeing all the pets that are directly in front of them while our specialist operates behind the scenes to get them that detailed consult back quickly.
So, who is the target customer for you? Because I sit right now, as we speak, in an urgent care clinic. So we build those. We act more as an emergency hospital, and we do most of the cases that emergency hospital could do, but we just choose to close at midnight. That's kind of the framework that I like. I can't lose any more hair over the night shifts. And am I a client? Am I someone who could that dynamically? Because it's kind of an outpatient basis. So urgent care or emergency hospital, or is it more general practice? Who is that ideal customer of yours that you want to target?
Largely, it depends on the specialty that we're discussing in DVM stat. Since we have a true virtual specialty hospital with 8 different specialties, some of them are very distinctly targeted to the urgent care and emergency medicine space. Our 24/7 emergency critical care consults, which are manned 7 days a week, 24 hours a day by 8 board certified criticalists, really target the type of population that you see in urgent and emergency care, where the pet's in front of you, you have a finite period of time to assimilate the information that you have from your blood work, from your x-rays, from your ultrasound, and your clinical history to get a diagnosis and implement treatment. And those consults pair really well with that in a quick manner. Not only do you immediately get on the phone with a criticalist who you can talk to about that case and get a plan, but you also get a written report back to you within about an hour. So that works hand in hand with the workflow in the day-to-day of urgent care and emergency. For the specialty clinics like internal medicine, neurology, oncology, cardiology, surgery, etc., those work in all facets. They work for emergency and critical care if you have an inpatient that you're caring for on multiple shifts back to back, where you can get that consult back within 12 or 24 hours and implement that treatment plan and discuss with the owner what the implications are of the condition that the pet has. But they work great for general practices too. So it's a system that works really nicely for every type of veterinarian. And my original goal with DVM Stat was to be a huge resource for general practitioners who were in areas devoid of specialty practice. But what's developed over the last 6 years is we've really become a resource for all different types of veterinarians that I hadn't even fathomed would consider using teleconsultation. We provide specialty consults to other specialty hospitals all the time. And that was never in my mind when I developed DVM Stat.
That's really interesting. A business always changes as it grows, doesn't it? Morphs and turns into something new. And I think that's along the lines of my next question, which is what other things have you learned in kind of running this, from how to deliver these services better, how to serve the clients better, how to leverage technology to kind of schedule and optimize the resources that you have available? What other things have kind of come out of the business since you've been running it?
Well, what's been really fun along this journey is seeing the creative ways in which veterinarians choose to harness the power of our service. You would think that the primary customer would be a veterinarian in a rural area that doesn't have access to specialty care, but a large swath of our veterinary users are veterinarians that are in metropolitan areas where there's a long delay to get that pet into a specialty clinic to be seen. And so they'll utilize our service to start the specialty consultation process and implement treatment early on in that patient's care journey, and then transfer care ultimately to the local specialty clinic when the pet's able to get into that hospital. We really work to tailor our services to provide the best service for the veterinarians that we're working with. And so some of our specialties that we've added on have been at a popular request of the veterinarians that we serve to make sure that we're able to provide the best service possible for them.
I'm going to ask a question that I'm going to probably get a lot of hate mail for. The way that I look, and I'm old and bold enough to have this observation in our industry, that younger veterinarians seem to rely more on the referral and the specialty with the diminishing numbers of availability of such, which is so interesting. We opened a hospital recently in a different location, and we there was a case. We have a Slack channel where all the hospitals talk to each other all the time. It's a case channel. It's a really cool community where we don't know the case, we throw it in, X-rays, blood work, and everybody can comment on it. And the younger vets tend to say, there was a dog with just, I think it was anemia. And before even people threw in any ideas, the next steps were, additional blood work, X-ray, referral. I said, referral is not a diagnostic tool. I mean, maybe, but like we have 7 doctors right now live in this chat. Like, why don't you push the envelope a little bit? And then it's such an automatic thing to just kind of throw the towel. Do you see that with the younger generation? Is that the vet schools that are doing right now? They're like everything is a referral, and God forbid go beyond the basic kind of workup. It kind of works well for your model because the scarcity. But what do you think in general? Is this something happening, or is it just me being a grumpy old man?
Well, it's a good point. I don't think you and I are too far apart in age, but it is definitely a difference in the way in which I think younger generation veterinarians are approaching cases. Some of it, I truly believe, has to do with the structure of the appointment schedule at some of the hospitals where they just don't have the time built in their day to do a true workup. And even if they order diagnostics, they may not see the results of those diagnostics till 4 or 5 p.m. when they wrap up their last case. And now they're calling the owner at 5:30 p.m. to report on something that actually requires treatment that day, but their clinic's closing in 30 minutes. So I think a lot of that probably drives some of that desire. I also think too that utilizing specialty care as part of the patient's treatment journey is something that's really well accepted by clients as well. Clients are often concerned about cost and finances. That's a big part of what we try to help appease with our services. But I think clients want the best care possible for their pets because their pets are family members. So I believe that the other arm of what's driving more prudent referral is client driven.
So you are a grumpy old man, I guess, is the answer. Dr. Kristin, I've got maybe another curveball for you, which is, from your perspective, where do you think your business goes with the evolution of AI? Where we have all of these, unique large language models, maybe one for cardiology, maybe one for all of the different specialties. How does that impact your guys' business, or how can you embrace it to be able to help more clinicians? What do you think the future looks like?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and one that I'm sure all veterinarians are thinking about. I think we're truly moving towards a hybrid model of care where general practice and AI driven algorithms and specialty consults have to work in tandem to make sure that pet care is optimized, pet outcomes are the best that they possibly can be, and that the clients are aware what is driving the treatment decisions for their pets. And I think it's something that's going to develop over time, particularly as a lot of these AI driven algorithms are pushing veterinarians in the way to harness technology and help to sort of speed what would have been a long process to go through pages and pages of lab work and pages of medical history, and now being able to drop that into a system and get sort of an algorithmic diagnostic and treatment plan that, of course, misses the human level of digging deeper and asking questions and asserting that information that you're inputting in there is truly accurate. And I don't think it'll ever replace working directly with a specialist. And teleconsultation, doesn't replace in-person referral in a lot of cases either. It's just merely a treatment arm that can be added into patient care to really ensure that the veterinarian feels supported in managing complex or critical cases, and that client has the most information possible to make informed decisions about care.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What about how are you guys and your team leveraging it today? And where is the utility that your team has found, or have they?
I think the biggest utility will be in helping to summarize some of these 40 and 50 page medical records that we get as part of the patient history documentation. I truly think that's probably one of the best uses for AI that a team like ours can implement to help to improve efficiency, because we want our specialists focused on, for instance, the echocardiogram or ultrasound they're reviewing. We want them focused on making clinical and therapeutic recommendations for that pet that are customized and tailored, and none of that will ever come from an AI background, but utilizing AI in a synopsis tool would be really helpful.
Love that. My recent experience, I work with the lawyer right now in a complex case, and it's funny, I think he's around 80 years old, but he loves AI and he leverages so much. So all the things, all the documents, everything, he just embraces it. And I think that's such a utility for it. And then when you have someone brilliant like he is with his experience, he really does condense it to one decision that kind of makes the change, but doesn't have to go through, tons and tons of data, as long as it's reliable and also specialty specific, right? Because you can put it into the general model. Right now, there's so many of them, and which one is going to be accurate? So hopefully it's going to kind of start specializing more, helping the specialists to kind of process the data, but then still have that one final input and essentially scale the specialists even more, as we are doing right now. What do you think about this in terms of the client? So before we used to joke about, Dr. Google. Right now, I think it's about Dr. GPT. Do you see more of that yourself? And do you embrace that? Do you feel allergic to it when clients say, well, Chat GPT this and it tells me this? How do you feel about that?
I mean, truly, I think it's just another layer of Dr. Google in your exam room, because we've been dealing with that for many, many years. And as you guys are well aware, sometimes the client does put in the symptoms and come up with something that is an accurate diagnosis, which is fascinating. It almost makes the conversation easier that, they've already done a little bit of research, and oftentimes the information on the internet is doom and gloom and a lot more complex and has a much worse prognosis than what we actually discuss with them. So I feel like from our end, a lot of times when I'm discussing things like IMHA or hemangiosarcoma or non-traumatic chemoabdomen, a lot of times my discussion is much more on the positive side than what they've read about online. And I think that we'll continue to find that because ChatGPT certainly is quite helpful. And I'm certain that clients are harnessing that power to try to get answers and truly to ask, do they need to follow their primary veterinarian's recommendation to go see a cardiologist in person or to do these additional diagnostics? And that just adds an extra layer of importance to how detailed we are in our communication, that we're communicating clearly why the recommendation is anchored in science.
I love those both points. One is that I find that when the clients are coming in and they Googled it or GPT'd it, I don't have to sell them anymore on the diagnostics or approach that I need to do. I think they pre-sell themselves, and I only embrace that. I actually ask the first thing I come in the exam room, if it's a block cat, I always ask, did you Google block cat and what it means? Did you find out what it is online? And if they say yes, I started from different level of conversation, or it just gauges how much I need to, verbalize from my talk track on this condition. And the second one I love that you pointed out, I think it's great because a lot of the times they will come in with a diagnosis and grave prognosis. When you give them more hope through it, that just, brightens the day for them. And yeah, I love those both points. We ran out of time. We always do. Every single time we record this, it ends very quickly, but there's been a fascinating conversation. We always ask two questions at the end of the episode. One of them is there a textbook, a YouTube video, TED Talk, something that inspired you recently in your entrepreneurial journey that you'd like to share with listeners?
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I've really enjoyed reading in the last few months is Let Them by Mel Robbins. It's really a great book and a great theory for all veterinary professionals and business owners, and that it talks about a mindset shift in recognizing that you cannot control what people think of you, how people act towards you, how they communicate towards you, or how they react to your communication. So if you apply that in a veterinarian context or a veterinary professional context, you think about the client that had angry reaction to your recommended treatment plan and advice on a case. That feels helpful because you spent time, you really care about the patient, you care about the outcome for the case, and maybe the veterinarian had to provide, for instance, a financial estimate that was really high and the client had an angry reaction to it. A lot of vet teams take that to heart. It ruins their day. It makes them feel upset about what they could have done different and how they should have approached that situation differently. But when you embrace this mindset shift, you recognize that you need to let that person react the way that they are reacting at that moment. And what you can control is how you personally avoid internalizing that and how you can harness your own power to change your reaction to someone else's behavior.
Sounds like a good book to read. Thanks for the recommendation. Last question is another innovator that you think we should have on the show.
I would recommend that you speak with Dr. Jason Ballera. He is a board certified veterinary surgeon. He's also the founder of Lark Capital, which is a real estate investment firm. And he's doing a lot of work to try to improve the financial and investment health of veterinary professionals and putting a portion of that towards Not One More Vet as well.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.